Hey everyone, and welcome back to the channel. Today we'll be doing a deep dive of set 4709 Hogwarts Castle from LEGO Harry Potter. This was a 2001 set, the first representation of Hogwarts Castle of many to follow that we received from LEGO. 682 pieces, making it the largest set of the first two waves of the theme, originally for ages 8 to 12. So I'm 12. This set is still for me. I love it. I think it's beautiful, and I'm excited to get into the details of this set with you all today. Before we get into the build itself, I think we need to take a minute to look at this box. Quite a large box for under 700 pieces, but it is pretty spectacular. Of course, I do have some damaged parts, but that's okay. You get the idea. Gorgeous display of the castle with this backdrop of the mountains and the sky. This cutout, circular cutout, showcases some of the accessories included within the build. What is most unique about this box we'll get into in a second. I'll show the other sides of it first. On top, we see here Dumbledore looking into this chest, a beautiful illustration of the students arriving to the castle by boat, Hagrid over there on the right-hand side. On this side of the spine, we see a view of the trio walking up into the Gryffindor Tower. On the other side, okay, we see again Harry and Malfoy in the boat with Hagrid, as well as a sneak peek at one of the features of the castle. Back of the box is a pretty great image as well. All of these 2001, 2002 sets include the Just Imagine ... at the top, and then a series of alternate builds. You also get a view of the map of sets released within 2001 and the ways that they could stack on top of each other or be arranged. I haven't built any of these alternate builds before in these sets, so I'm going through, ignore the damage down there, going through after these reviews and trying them all out, seeing if I can figure them out based on the pictures or the couple of steps that they include. So I'm excited to try these out after the review because they look pretty nice. But the coolest part about this box is the way it opens up. So you would, cut a piece of tape or two and then lift off the top, and then you get this absolutely gorgeous display of the inside of the castle, again with the lake or river over there, more of the mountains, but this is just really, really pretty interview of the Great Hall, that photo of them arriving on the lake again, astronomy tower lifting up. This is just a really, really cool design for a box and was a treat, even with this, slightly damaged box, to crack open when I got this set. I inherited this set growing up as kind of a hand-me-down from my older sister, so I didn't have that unboxing experience, and it was really a treat to, see what it was like to get this set back in 2001. Love also, similar to the Chamber of Secrets box, you have this kind of interior castle wall look built out along the box. And then, I don't know that I'll keep these forever, but I did like how the pieces came in these bags with images of the section of the build that those pieces included. So the Great Hall, the library, and Gryffindor Tower. Kind of oddly, some of these are printed onto the plastic itself, and then some of them are like a sheet within the bag. So not quite sure what the reasoning behind that was, but I quite liked that touch. Made it feel like more of a premium building, unboxing experience and a real treat to put together. Looking at the instruction booklet here, get an ad on the back for the Creator Harry Potter game from this time. The instructions are vertically done, even though it's kind of a sideways image on the front. Love that you had these beautiful illustrated images of the set as you go, with this nice kind of parchment look on the pages. Getting to the back of the build, we do see those alternate builds with images of the pieces themselves. So these, unlike some of them where it just shows you the final image, you do get some steps along the way, which should help me out a bit when I give my best attempt at grading them. Figure it makes sense to go through the build itself in the order in which you build it within the instructions. We begin with the boathouse, kind of taking you through the story of, arriving to Hogwarts. So you begin with this boat build, largely made of this molded boat piece, which has some nice subtle but effective detailing on the side, a hole in the front to stick this torch piece. A lot of flames in these early Harry Potter sets, which I think are used to great effect. Get our first of several minifigures. Here we have Draco Malfoy, Slytherin robes, which look nice. All the students have stars underneath their capes. So our first Draco minifigure, and very nicely done. Then we also get Hagrid with this set. And this was, I believe, a very innovative, minifigure at the time for LEGO. And I think it turned out quite well. The design of Hagrid has more or less stayed consistent throughout the years, some modifications here and there. The arms are attached to this body build, whereas nowadays you would, attach the arms separately. The hair/beard is one piece, which is kind of a rubbery, flexible material with some nice detailing. And then not the most distinct Hagrid face, but I think, since it's largely hidden by the beard, it gets the job done. And some nice detailing along the torso as well, depicting his outfit and prominent, belt buckle. Kind of an odd inclusion to include Malfoy in the boat with Hagrid, but, I think it works fine for where we kind of go from here throughout the rest of the build. And then we have the Boathouse. We see in some other areas of this set, this tower design, which I think looks very classic and would be used to great effect throughout various other Hogwarts builds in the years to come. This nice little mini turret on the side, which I think does a good job of creating a sense of scale, even though, it would technically be like smaller than a minifigure. So I like that detail. Flames on the sides here, some nice printed tiling of stones on this piece to give the boathouse a bit more texture. Nothing really going on the inside, but the point of this build is really, to have the boat, fit through and enter the castle grounds. The next section you build is small but charming, in my opinion, and it is the Owlery. You don't really realize that this is the Owlery until later on in the build when you place it on top of the owls, but this is a nice build referencing that, tower silhouette again. This uses a lot of like 1x1 tan pieces, which I always get kind of picky about, trying to make them look as, as smooth as possible. Simple, but effective, I think, in creating another tower within the castle landscape. Next up, we have the library, which of course features Hermione Granger. This is the same Hermione that we see in the Forbidden Corridor set within this wave, but that's actually the only other set in which we get her in these initial Harry Potter sets. Has, again, the stars under her cape, Gryffindor seal on her torso. I think they did a good job with the hair for this minifigure. The face print is a little, vague, I guess, in detailing Hermione. That would obviously, I think improve throughout the years, but a great minifigure nonetheless to get within this set. The library itself, good amount of space to place minifigures, but you do get some details here letting you know that this is the library. We have a desk here with a magnifying glass piece, which actually does work, though it'll, I think, be difficult to kind of showcase on camera. This little bin on the bottom slides out and contains this 1x1 tile piece with a blue book and some golden kind of shimmery stars indicating, a magical book. That's a tile piece that we see in some other LEGO Harry Potter sets as well. Behind there, we do see this nice, simple, but I think effective bookcase. There is a part of this build that juts out in the back, and it allows you to flip up to, oops, ignore the flame that just fell, flip up to dump the books onto the floor. Kind of a fun play feature. I do kind of wish that it also bent backward, as it would make it easier to keep the books on there. They tend to fall forward anyway, but some nice detailing on the books here. This red one we see within some other sets as well, like Snape's class, Dumbledore's office, has a kind of venomous looking plant on one side, mushroom on the spine, and some mushrooms on the back. So perhaps a potions book or a herbology book. A green book here with, I think that's clearly a potion on the front. Kind of a test tube or a vial on the spine. Some other potion-like artwork on the back. And then the final book is a reference from the restricted section. We get this scary face jumping out of the book. So I like that reference from the film, some other detailing on the back. I like that at this time, these books did have prints on them as opposed to stickers. And of course it doesn't, totally fill up the shelf. Today, you would likely see the kind of brick-built books, different Lego pieces of various colors creating kind of the illusion of books. So I do like that within this build we did get some fully kind of designed books with no stickers. You get this grand spiral staircase, which will make a little more sense when we get to the Gryffindor Tower portion of the build. Here's what it looks like from the front. So, not the most beautiful exterior I've ever seen, particularly in this area. I think if this were made today, this would be tiled off up top and probably down here as well. I do like the use again of these printed stone columns here. This section over here swings open and has kind of a fun feature. So this build, I have no idea what this is supposed to be. Maybe like a little fireplace. This is a kind of purely Lego Harry Potter design rather than something from the books or the movies. You essentially can move these pieces and then swivel around this section using a yellow rubber band piece. This reveals a clear chest with trans neon and trans blue gem inside of this clear trunk. What does this reference? Nothing. It's just kind of fun, whimsical, magical, a jump off point to create your own adventure. This is the kind of thing that, we wouldn't really see as the years went on with Harry Potter. Every, detail needs to be a direct reference to a scene from the movies. This set was, designed and I believe released before the first film came out. So although there are definitely references to the Sorcerer's Stone movie within these early sets, I like that, at this time, the designers were kind of imagining, a magical school for themselves and what that would look like. This wasn't something I really questioned growing up of why would they, include this instead of, a particular other portrait or office or something like that. Up top here, we see a white and dark gray owl perched along this little build here. And we have these smooth 1x1 tiles to allow for you to set atop the Owlery. So it is placed like so on top of the library here. When you place this modular section on top of the Chamber of Secrets from 2002, you would kind of close the castle like so. However, you can also have it be open and then place the Owlery like this, which I think gives, a bit more depth, as we see on the box there, to this bottom section of the castle. Next up here, we have Gryffindor Tower. The exterior here, I think really captures the spirit of the castle. It's not, completely movie accurate, but definitely reads as grand tower in a castle. The interior here shows us, a version of Gryffindor Tower. We see here at the base a swingable portrait of the fat lady, which, is one of those things that, as an adult you question, maybe she could have had a name, but, yeah. We also have Ron and Harry. Standard Ron minifigure here with the stars under the cape, of course, Gryffindor seal, light gray wand. Hair is not entirely accurate for Rupert Grint, but I think it works well. I definitely saw him as Ron in Lego form at the time. Harry is standard to the version that we see in many other sets. In this one, along with, I think, the Forbidden Corridor as well, he has this beautiful purple cape, which actually represents the invisibility cloak. They didn't at this time have some of the more ornate versions of the cloak that we would see in later sets. He comes with a broomstick as well as a wand, which is nice to kind of switch out. You can hide the broomstick somewhere else if you would like, but allows for, some fly activity as well throughout the castle. And then you kind of have another minifigure down here too. This knight reminds me a little bit of Sir Cadogan from the third book. Not entirely sure that that's what it's supposed to be referencing, but he comes with this nice sword piece and this great Gryffindor shield, as well as a helmet, which can pop up. The face print there is the same one I believe that they use for Peeves. So enjoy this inclusion as well. He sits atop this red 2x2 here, and also if you turn it around, there is this kind of a teal jewel behind him. Good amount of room here on this first floor to place minifigures, and I like this railing build here so that you can have some minifigures be present from the exterior of the build. These larger pieces follow that similar printed pattern of the stonework that we saw earlier within the set. There's also this very noticeable brown chain that connects to this lever piece. On the second floor here, we have a table with some potions, I guess. And if you push this down, the chest pops up. Within it is a golden chrome key. You saw more of these chrome key pieces within these earlier sets, which I think are really nice pieces that, you know, they don't really make anymore. I like this play feature. Again, they could have put two little beds up here, as we would see in future versions of Gryffindor Tower. We don't get couches or a fireplace within this version, but I think that it allows for a bit of imagination, a bit of a different idea of what some of the activities might be that the gang could get up to within their residence. On the top level of the tower, we get a nice little build referencing the astronomy tower. If you are a Hogwarts architecture expert, you'll know that Gryffindor Tower is in a different, place than the astronomy tower, which is also in a different place than the main tower or the grand staircase tower. Those three are combined here, I think, wisely, to good effect. This actually can come off, so you can kind of see the stars, if you will, with this telescope piece, which is a nice little build, can swivel around and adjust in, the angle that it is pointed at. You also get this blue book. On the inside, there is a trans blue tile piece with some stars on it. So I guess that is the guide to astronomy class, which we never have featured, within the books or the films, really, apart from, I think there's an OWL's scene. I was oddly into the idea of there being an astronomy class in Harry Potter growing up, because I was into space and, the solar system and all that jazz. My wish that I don't think would happen would be for, in the TV show, Professor Sinistra to, teach an astronomy class to the students and get some dialogue. This piece we see in a number of other sets, Chamber of Secrets, Dumbledore's office. I think that the detailing on it is really nice. You get another kind of micro scale turret here to kind of create the illusion that this is a grander castle than maybe in reality, to scale with the figures. This nice owl here, also perched on top, is a nice touch. And then we get this flag up top with a kind of dark gray piece there. And then this tower section fits nicely on top of the library, completing this section of the castle. You as well have the staircase lead up to the portrait to enter the common room, which lines up very nicely. Last but certainly not least, we get the Great Hall, probably the most screen accurate build featured within this set, instantly recognizable in some ways. I think that this is second, or maybe even the most kind of imposing looking of the Great Halls that Lego Harry Potter has made. It has a certain stature and grandiosity about it that I think is really iconic and that I really enjoy. The interior of the Great Hall is nicely designed as well. Not obviously a full Great Hall with, 4 long tables and the tables up front for the professors, but I think it gets the job done. You get 2 final minifigures with this section of the build. First up, we have the iconic glow-in-the-dark Snape. So a nice purple detailing on the torso and legs. No stars on the underside of this cape. Only the students within Lego Harry Potter sets had stars under their capes, which I think is a nice kind of differentiator. Nice use of this hairpiece in black to get that kind of greasy-haired look. These grayish hands and face with a stern expression, though not a replica of what Alan Rickman looked like within the role. I think this kind of captures the spirit of Snape, particularly within the first few books, described as kind of gaunt or a bit sinister. I think that this does a nice job of indicating to, a child playing with this set or a fan of the story that this is the kind of bad, scary teacher. And then on the flip side, we get the warm teacher, Albus Dumbledore. Beautiful detailing here in a brighter shade of purple with some nice yellow and green ornamentation on the torso and pants. This nice purple cape as well. And then a beard and hairpiece and some nice detailing on the face print as well, though, it's a little masked by the beard. Going through the interior of the Great Hall, I think we'll start at the bottom and work our way to the top. We have a number of different yellow goblets here, a letter. There is a rat as well, could signify Scabbers if you would like. This throne for Dumbledore opens up and contains a light gray key and then a magic bag piece. So you can hide some secrets under there. Along the table, you get this 2x2 tile with a sticker of Dumbledore that is a little hard to make out. I think it's supposed to replicate the or imitate the chocolate frog card, and it has, I believe, a kind of holographic, if that's the right word, I don't know, quality to it, but definitely a cool sticker. Within the fireplace here, you get this little kind of build. I don't really know what this is, you know, some sort of embers on top, maybe like a stove. Inside you get a pink jewel. I don't think that's supposed to be like the Sorcerer's Stone, but maybe it could be. This grate, I guess, over the fireplace swings open and hides Peeves. So this is kind of the final minifigure for the set. Of course, not within the films. These were designed before they realized that he had been written out of the films. So this may have been what he would look like. I believe there was like a computer game as well at this time that had him designed a little bit differently. Could also serve as kind of a generic ghost, but I believe that Peeves was the initial intention, and he's also included within the Snape's class set. We also see some nice kind of lion heads here carved into the stone of the Great Hall, which I think are pretty cool. A little, you know, Gryffindor favoritism perhaps, but that's okay. Get some floating flames, which I believe kind of represents like the floating candles within the sky of the Great Hall. And then up top here, we get, what do we get here? A crystal ball, a key, and a white mouse. A brown owl up top, and then I guess one of the only details within this original Great Hall that is kind of storytelling based from the source material is this house banner for Gryffindor, which can be flipped to show Slytherin. So this would, you know, reenact the moment cut from the film where Dumbledore realizes that, you know, he's been showing favoritism to Gryffindor. It's not fair to the students who've worked hard all year and had their feelings played with. And then he, you know, transforms it back to Slytherin and awards them the House Cup as they deserve. So I love that the designers put that detail in. These are actually paper, which is one of the kind of interesting curiosities of these early sets. Maybe they weren't making really at this time more advanced builds with, you know, kind of hinge pieces to create the roof. So we instead get these paper pieces for this set and also for the roof of Hagrid's hut within this early wave. They are kind of a slightly cardstocky material. I don't want to play around with them too much because I want to keep them in good condition. A fun fact, when I had this set growing up, I actually lost one of these. Maybe it got thrown away, maybe it got ripped up, but I only had one, and I didn't like the way that it looked just having one, so I made like myself a piece of cardstock of this size and did my best to like hand draw the mirrored image. I don't think I have a photo of that anymore, but I was pretty proud of myself. It, you know, didn't fully capture the effect, but thought, you know, I gave it my best try. Getting this set all these years later, it was very nice to have these two paper pieces back in my hands. So although we'd go on to see Hogwarts castles with much higher piece counts and more detail, more screen accuracy, I think it's undeniable that this 2001 set not only laid the groundwork for where Hogwarts sets would go in the future, but also was hugely influential in LEGO design just in general. The silhouette created here is pretty iconic. I think that there are so many people that, you know, grew up loving this set. It remains one of, I think for those reasons, the most kind of iconic LEGO Harry Potter sets of all time, and one that, you know, all these years later, the cons or the flaws, I think, can be chalked up to fun kind of idiosyncrasies that, you know, are kind of historically interesting to look back upon and see how far LEGO's come. All right, so here is the first alternate build within this set. You get 4 steps to create this larger version of the Boathouse. A lot of extra pieces left over on the table. It's getting a little crazy over here. But here we have this alternate build. It's pretty, you know, sizable. There's not too much actually going on. So we have the trio in the boat. I like that Hedwig is here. I love the use of the chain piece here. It can't quite attach actually to like Hagrid's hand, I don't believe, because of the way that these minifigure hands were designed. They don't rotate in the same way that like new hands would, unfortunately. You could also give it to Dumbledore or like pin it here. The instructions have it just sort of draped on Hagrid. Have Dumbledore waiting to greet them. I like the framing here with the printed pieces and the sculpted lion heads. Snape kind of off to one side looking repulsed at the arrival of these soon-to-be Gryffindors. A letter up top on this lerp piece. This lerp, little ugly rock piece, hinges open and reveals some jewels surrounded by flames and a little charm back there. So I like that they incorporated kind of a hidden feature, some tile work down there to allow it to glide open smoothly. You get a black bat and a black owl up top here, and a tower. So this does elicit like a vibe of like nighttime, the kind of like witchiness of Hogwarts, kind of when they first arrived to it, which I like. You also have the Gryffindor dude in the back, unnamed guy, standing guard. So, I don't know that it's the most fully thought out, alternate build, but it is fun. I like the expansiveness of the boathouse here. It is kind of a larger, just in footprint version of the boathouse than we get even in the most detailed Hogwarts ever, which is kind of funny, but would definitely consider that one to be a superior build overall. And wasn't too hard to capture this by just looking at the image, so that's good. I'm excited to build the next one and, hopefully get maybe a little more detail, maybe a little more color, but, this one I think is a good start. For the second alternate build, we get 2 full pages of steps, good amount of pieces within each step, but was able to, figure out the final look pretty well. So this seems like a cute miniature version of Hogwarts is how I, interpret this design. So we have kind of 3 different sections. The first reminds me a little bit of the Great Hall, just because of the use of the roof and Dumbledore's chair. Here's what it looks like from the outside. And then inside we get the Gryffindor Knight, a white rat, and Dumbledore on his throne. The second section features Professor Snape, one of those alert pieces on the front, what I presume to be Hedwig, a torch, and the clear chest with some gem pieces. Not totally sure what this kind of represents, but maybe sort of a look at like the dungeons, the kind of areas that, you might find Snape, up to something. And then our third and the biggest section here is maybe like a library or, kind of a mishmash of different elements of classrooms. I feel, you get a little bit of the astronomy tower up top, Ron on the other side here, and then Hermione with all of the different books featured within this set down below, and a little table with some goblets. Overall, I think that these 3 sections look nice together. Again, doesn't necessarily wow me as much as some of the other alternate builds that I've done, just in terms of the kind of idea behind it, but I think it's nice. This is also what it looks like from the front. These 2 pieces, there wasn't an indication that they used the printed stone, but I think that this makes for a nicer look, so that's what I went for. All right, so the final alternate build within this set is a 4-step kind of look at an expanded version of Gryffindor Tower. And here we have the build. This is, I think, definitely my favorite of the 3. Down here, we begin with the Gryffindor common room. We get the portrait of the fat lady entering into the common space. There's sort of a chair, a bit of a bricky chair here for Ron, scabbers, and then an archway for the fireplace in the back with those sculpted lion heads, some drinks and flames above the fireplace to add some warmth into the space. Then we get the spiral staircase, which Hermione's on, headed up to the dormitory here, where we can find Harry with Hedwig. His wand is positioned just on the ground in the instructions. He's holding a letter. There's a white rat, the cleared chest behind him, and then the 4-poster bed with the piece used for the throne for Dumbledore. This swings up and includes just a tile inside. Up top here, no interior details included within this tower space. Just kind of creates a tower for the top with some owls and Peeves with a torch with this chain on it, which I think was a nice build there. Definitely the largest of the 3 builds here, which I think goes a long way to just provide kind of a satisfying sense of scale. Although, yes, this is a much blockier version of this location than something that would have been, designed specifically to replicate the location. I think using the pieces that were available in this set, this build worked out quite well. In some ways, this is actually the fullest kind of version of this area of the castle that we've really ever gotten in a Lego set, and that you get the portrait, the common room, a staircase to, like a full staircase, you know, to the dormitories with a tower on top. So yeah, I'm happy with this alternate build. I think it was fun. The one area that I kind of struggled with was the fireplace. A few of the pieces used, I am happy with the way that I did it, but just based on kind of what you can reference within the images, it's a little hidden. So I kind of built the top sections fully first and some of the bottom, and then kind of was able to do some guesswork as to what would most make sense to round out the rest of that section. Overall, happy with how this alternate build turned out. My favorite alternate builds remain within the Chamber of Secrets set, but I think that these Hogwarts Castle ones are nice as well. The full set itself, of course, as I've, you know, discussed within my review, I love quite a lot. With that, you know, we'll wrap things up here. Really appreciate you all for getting this far if you have. I really have enjoyed going through all of these early Harry Potter sets, and hope that you've enjoyed being along for the ride. Thanks for watching.